Oh, hello everyone. I'm Jonathan Crow from Ninja One. I am Director of Content Community, and I'm so happy that we decided to do round two of our IT Horror Fest. I really have Matt Fox here from Valiant, their creative director. He's the one to blame for suggesting that we go for a round two. So Matt, yeah, this is your fault.
Yeah, I'm
It's your
sorry,
turn to do
guys.
the sucker.
Wait, this thing? Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So everyone tuning in, thanks so much for taking time. For those who this is nighttime for you, like us, this is awesome. This is IT Horror Fest After Dark. But what's really cool is we finally got a chance to get our Australian and New Zealand partners in on the act. So I see Jason Danner. Hello, sir. Good to see you here. This is so cool that you're here. And for what you guys missed while you were peacefully sleeping, hopefully we subjected ourselves. We told some horror stories, and they're fantastic. And Matt and Jason have plenty more. But we also subjected ourselves to eating the world's spiciest lollipop, and it just so happens I've got a clip of how that went down that I'll share with you guys in just a second. But first, let me set the stage a little bit more. Again, thank you so much, everybody in the who's already gotten in the chat, already dropping stories, which is awesome to see. Keep doing that. And to reiterate what we're going to do here, so we have kind of a whole agenda. But what happened the first go around is we tried to go through our agenda. It took way too long, and we didn't get to like half the stuff. And we realized, man, a lot of people just want to share stories, and so that's kind of what we're doing this here for. Is certainly you can hear Jason's stories, you can hear Matt's, and we'll go through a little bit of the material that we had. But we really want to hear from you guys and give you a chance to hop on. And we got some prizes for some folks who do that. And yeah, feel free to go ahead and start sharing in the chat and let us know if you got a really good one and you want to come on. We want to bring you on and we want to hear it. So with that said, let's go through our deck a little bit here, just to kind of give you a sense of what you missed out on. So again, once again, I'm Jonathan Crow, malicious Matt Crow, haha, director of content community. We've got Matthew Fox, who, as I mentioned, is creative director of Valiant Technology, an MSP based out of New York City.
I have very slender fingers in that.
Well, this was there's been a pandemic, I don't know. So Matt, as Jason mentioned, like he opted out of the toe of Satan, the world's hottest lollipop earlier. Jason and I suffered through it. Jason didn't seem to have any problems though, as you'll see in just a second. I, on the other hand, absolutely did. I completely melted down. We had Tom Lawrence join us earlier, so that you'll see his face in a second. Um, well, yep, here's Jason. So Jason, I'll let you introduce yourself. Actually, you're VP Technology at CNWR IT Consultants. You're all over the channel with all over the all the typical groups. I'm sure a lot of these folks are familiar with you, but you want to give a quick intro?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of nailed it. I'm Jason Slegel, VP of Operations for Technology at CWR, mid-sized MSP in the Ohio area. I don't know. I like security. I somehow got roped into this. Like somewhat like, oh look, I'm in the like decks or the ads going out. I probably need to do this. And I had a client meeting right after earlier, so that was fun.
Oh my God, yeah. We gotta hear how that went. Because yeah, you had it literally
Yeah.
minutes after doing that. I wouldn't have been able. I mean, I was
Uh,
not functioning at
That
all.
was fine. I had like a couple little tears that came down, and it burned for a bit, but I was fine. I was like 3 minutes late.
Oh, come on,
That's
Jason. Your beard was
ridiculous.
soaking up the tears. We know how that works.
Yeah, kind of
That's
Um,
sucked.
absolutely
you guys looked so bad afterwards.
ridiculous. Okay, let's keep moving here. So we got Kelvin Teglar was with us, and Kelvin, I'll drop a link in here too. Another very familiar face. He's CTO of Lime Networks, based out of the Netherlands in Rotterdam, but also blogger from Cyberdrain. That's his blog where he shares scripts and blog posts very regularly, and he's been up to some really big stuff lately. Including developing his own open source way to manage Microsoft 365, which a lot of people have been trying out and getting really into. If you're a member of MSP Geek, you'll see a channel, an entire channel dedicated for it there. And I'll drop a link to his GitHub there so you can learn more about that. But Kelvin is it's very late for him. Tom Watson, as Seth pointed out in the chat, I've got some amazing pictures of Tom suffering through the toe of Satan that I'm definitely gonna have to pull up in a second while you guys are sharing stories. He was also came as Wolverine, and he had like legit metal claws that looked pretty dangerous, and he was completely jacked. So there's that. But enough about what we did, right? So like here's our agenda. Here's what we covered. As mentioned, we want to really just get into the horror stories here, but there are a couple things I thought we'd share. So first of all, prizes. We still got a few of these. We weren't able to give away all the ones that we had in, set aside. So come on screen, tell us a horror story, and we're going to give you a IT survival pack, and that includes a Ninja Timbuktu backpack, some Death Wish coffee, some bacon to go. This is individually wrapped bacon that is cooked and delicious. You just open it up and you're good to go. And then also this Geek Key multi-tool. And not pictured here, a Ninja water bottle. So you got hydration, you got caffeination, is that a word? Sure, why not? And baconation, if we're going to go down that route, why not? So the first thing, I think we can kind of do this again. I asked Dom, our content manager is on here too. Thank you, Dom. He added some polls in here. And we had a 6-word IT horror story contest that some of you guys may have participated in. You're voting on that. That's awesome. Check out the second poll here. What's the worst nightmare this year? And this is kind of cool to see because you guys, like, the first go around, the Microsoft Exchange vulnerabilities actually was, I think that took the first slot. And you guys are voting now, I see, and Print Nightmare is out ahead. And Jason, I don't know if you want to like rehash anything. I mean, you were grappling with the sucker, and I love that you basically took the stance of like, nope, nobody prints.
We turned printing off because we were worried about it. Everyone was like, yeah, sure, fine. We don't need to print. Like, and that lasted for like all of 48 hours before they were like literally losing their minds. We can't work if we can't print. Well, you told me you didn't have to print. Like, and then, just the botched recovery of this. It's like this entire year has been a nightmare from the security front because it's like literally every 2 weeks there's like the continuing print nightmare saga, right? It's like, I know what you did last summer. Aren't there like 7 of those, right? It's like I know where you printed last night. Like episode 7 or 8 is going on right now. So
coming out you're right. Like it was. I think it was just like the frequency of this stuff, right? It's like every couple of weeks it would just be another thing, and then just say the exchange stuff earlier on. I mean,
we had cigarette this year too, I think, right? So like the whole DNS crap that went earlier, like there were like you're forgetting about like the second 6 months of the year was so eventful that you're totally forgetting that like the first 6 months of the year had a bunch of security crap too.
Yeah, well, and then I mean, even more recently too, there's all the DDoS attacks on VoIP, providers. I mean, all sorts of junk. And then I think another couple of things that came up, we had that option for other, and some other things that came up were people mentioning, there's that stuff. I also can't buy anything. Nothing will ship to me. And also I can't get insurance anymore. So like things are awesome. Things are totally great. But yeah, we went down the insurance route for a while there. And I mean, Grant's chiming in, a few other folks too. Interested to hear how you guys were dealing with all this stuff and just kind of this whole mindset, right? I mean, part of the reason we're doing this is just to let off some steam and share some stories, and obviously these things are maybe too recent to really have like funny haha horror stories about. But maybe we can get into some other ones that are. So, the 6-word horror stories, don't worry guys, like we have these entries. If you just got yours in like recently, I keep them coming here. I think we can probably pick another winner out of these two, of these things. But let's get into some story time. Before we do, let me just ask, like, do people want to see the meltdown from the whole.
Yes.
Yeah, if you still had yours, I'd go get mine, but it seems like you
Man,
got rid of
I'm
yours.
not. Of course you would do that again. Like once these folks see this video, they're gonna understand why. I do have it. It's right here, and maybe they can try to get me to do it again. I boxed it back up.
Okay.
I can. I was in such terrible pain.
You couldn't even finish.
It was so bad. Okay, let me just see if I can pull up this video because talking about it doesn't really do it justice. Let me grab this real quick. This is on YouTube now for the world to see happily. Let's get it going here. Okay, so this is Wisely. When I first was trying to organize this event, I was like, hey guys, when should we do this? Like towards the beginning, right? People want to see us suffer. And I think Tom Lawrence was like, no, I've done this. You have to do it at the end. And I'm so glad. I am so glad. Give you there at all.
There's some sentiment in it.
Listen to him.
Are you doing it, Jonathan?
I'm gonna do it too. Don't worry. I wouldn't make you guys do a thing that I wouldn't do.
Oh my God, no, Tom.
Oh, is he going already?
Ice teeth.
Oh, and Matt. So Matt has already warned us. Matt,
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I stepped away to tie a damsel to some train tracks. I'm back.
Good. And Kelvin, your video has conveniently gone out too. I can't help but notice.
Post a
Right.
picture of yourself on Twitter doing it.
Yeah, right at the moment of truth. But okay, guys, let's go ahead and dive into this. We were going to be answering questions, but I think we should just go for this and see how long we can last.
Well, I'm not
Ready?
doing that. I'm just going to sit
Go
here
ahead.
with my bomb.
There you go. On your
Yeah.
mark, we said go.
Oh,
Well, Tom, look right in there. Yeah, you guys just like. Oh, I can't. Oh, wow. Taking it out of your mouth is a terrible idea.
you just want to put it back in.
Oh, this iced coffee.
Oh, yeah.
refreshing.
Don't take it out. Just leave it in.
Mm.
It's kind of, oh my God. Oh, wow. Guys,
I'm gonna use these on myself.
is Kelvin doing this? It was okay for about 10 seconds.
It's just getting increasingly hotter. It's just like going around my whole mouth, like spreading.
How long are you supposed to last with this, Tom? Like how?
I saw the video. The
I
guy did it
kind
in
of
like
want to stop now.
5 minutes.
I got the hiccups. I lose.
Oh,
I can take the
Kelvin
This
got
is not
destroyed
good.
too.
Hiccups are coming.
Oh God. Oh, this is a terrible mistake. This is really
Now
bad.
you know why we didn't do it at the beginning.
Oh God. I gotta eat it. Oh my God.
Woo!
That was a banana. I was
Guys,
eating.
come on, guys. You got this. Keep going. Keep going.
The problem is it doesn't just stop when you take it out of your mouth. How do I make it stop?
What's that?
Oh God.
this too.
Yeah, no.
Woo. Oh my God.
I can't stop hiccuping.
Guys, we're coming up on the hour, and I wanted to plug a couple of things. We got MSP live chats. We're gonna have one next Thursday. Oh my God! And you should come. I'm out. I can't do it. Oh man, this is a terrible
Guys,
mistake.
well, it's been nice having you here on this Ninja RMM live chat. We're here
Ninja One.
Come on.
Oh my
You
God.
got it.
Ninja One.
Come on. Come on. You got it. You can do this.
Check out Tom Lawrence's YouTube channel. Jason is always on the community. He's doing amazing things in security. Tom Watson is with our live chats too. Kelvin has this amazing project on GitHub. You should check out Cybertrain. Oh my God, guys! I think we gotta go. Woo! Jason, good luck with your client call. I'm
Yeah.
crying.
Yeah.
I'm crying. Okay, guys, this was a lot of fun. We'll never do this
Was
again.
it? Was it?
Was it? Oh God, I'm dizzy.
And I think with that, happy Halloween, everyone.
Yep.
My nose is clear.
See you later.
And- yeah, so that's what that was. And hey, thank you for. I'm getting a little of James. You're giving me, some acknowledgement here. I'm just trying to do my job. This is a job. That's what I get paid for. But I was trying to tee everybody up, give a good outro there. I can't explain how bad that was. Like, I know Jason, like you were. I was looking at photos afterwards. Like, you look calm. You were like smiling throughout the whole thing.
I think he was
I think Calvin
paralyzed.
and I got it the
Right.
worst.
Yeah, I had a couple, like I had water, like it was in the edge, and then I had a client call, and so I left, and I was drinking water. Water doesn't help, so we make a shot at the office called Little Beers. I don't know if anyone's ever had one. It's like this weird Spanish liquor called like Liquor 42, or Liquor 43, and heavy cream. Right, and it tastes like it looks like a beer because it's got like a little head on it with this cream, and it tastes like, I don't even know what to describe it tastes like. So I poured myself a glass of heavy cream, and yeah, that was also not a great idea. So I was probably about 4 minutes late to my call, but I mean it burned for probably a half hour. Like it ended in my mouth, but my lips burned, and then later I rubbed my eye with like a sucker adjacent finger, and that was probably an even worse time.
That's just like dangerous. My reaction there, like I was so unprepared for this. So yeah, just for context, guys, to my credit, 900 times hotter than a jalapeno. 9 million on the Scoville, however you pronounce it, like chili thing, which Jason, you were saying is like pepper spray is like 3 million or something.
3 to 6 million, yeah.
It was so, like, at first it was fine, but then I felt like I had to say something, and I took it out of my mouth. I don't know what it is. It's like when you eat spicy food and you stop eating it, that's when the trouble happens. But yeah, it got bad in a hurry, and Kelvin and I both, like, afterwards we're slacking, and I was trying to type, like, I had a banana, I had a little bit of water, I had to run down the stairs, and I grabbed a container of almond milk, and I drank like a whole quart of it. I couldn't stop drinking it. And my wife was just like, had no mercy for me. She had no pity. She was just like, oh my God. And so then I'm like texting Kelvin and like, yeah, we're both saying like, it's trembling. Kelvin tried mouthwash for some reason, which seems like an awful idea. Why would he think that would even help?
Alcohol does not help. I mean, the best part of the whole thing was we're done, and Matt just casually sending these pictures of him eating an ice cream sandwich. An ice cream sandwich really would have helped.
Yeah.
Yeah, that felt so right and wrong at the same time.
Oh my God! But yeah, you're right. I think, and then Tom Watson, after it was all over, was saying he was kind of putting on a show like, oh yeah, it was brutal, but it went away really quickly. I was suffering for 30 straight minutes. I could not stop shaking. It was terrible. Truly, truly awful. Okay, guys. So with that, let's get into some stories, right? Who wants to go first? Matt, I think you definitely had more. You shared some.
Matt's got a ton of them.
Yeah, earlier today when we started, I kind of gave the Callahan saga, and I realized I didn't really go into sort of like the outcome of it. And I think that was the lesson learned. There were a lot of difficulties working with him, and when you're doing something you want to do, you stick with it. You do the job right. You let the problems come to the surface, and that's what happened in the end. And I mean, ultimately, that led to me having an opportunity to rebuild an entire network and work with some really large software companies that were donors of ours at the nonprofit, and getting my Microsoft certs and all that stuff. So all the pain of that horror story was very much worth it. And I think that was sort of the lesson. You got to stick to your guns and do what you know is right.
And just some context there, right? Your stories in the previous session were all about this coworker, right?
It was actually the CIO of the nonprofit that I worked for. He came in about 10 months after I started, and it was just this constant string of like significant security incidents. He installed LimeWire on our proxy server to download Limp Bizkit albums. I mean, you don't do that. You don't do that. But yeah, let's talk about some stuff that was like more of a fiery situations. How about we get into one of those? Huh?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
All right, cool. This is after he was gone, and I had someone else working with me in the department. And hold on, Pete's here. And this guy's talking to me, just kind of like chatting one day, and he goes, "Hey, I heard someplace that if you have like an AMD socket A processor over 800 megahertz with no heatsink, it will, catch fire. Something bad will happen after running it for a few seconds. And I had a machine that had been decommissioned, sitting around for a while, waiting to be recycled. There wasn't really anything that could be done with it at that point. And it happened to have like an 800 and 850 megahertz socket A processor in it. So, opened the thing up, put it on its side, connected it to a monitor, and we turned it on. And it posted perfectly fine. Got like the American Megatrends BIOS logo and the whole deal. And then a flame shot up out of the processor and started smoking. Now, I don't know about you guys, but obviously I was like, all right, error in judgment. We got to get rid of this machine somehow. So I open up the window to my office and I just chuck it out the window. And the thing is that I worked on the 29th story of a building. So like the new guy with me is like, oh my God, what are you doing? And he's like freaking out. And I'm like, what? And I go out the window next. And on the way out of the window, he grabs me by my pant leg and he's trying to hold me in. And I start kicking, like, get off me, get off me. And then he hears thud and he looks out and he's like, oh, we have a balcony? I'm like, yeah, man, check it out. That's my barbecue grill in the corner. We hang out here all the time. And it was just like one of those moments. He was brand new and I didn't even think about it. Like he hadn't been in the space long enough to know how things were set up and not completely think that I was just like maybe so upset that I set a machine on fire that I was just going to go out the window with it. And I ended up having to take him out to lunch and kind of just, calm him down a little bit. And things worked out after that. But, sometimes, you experience horror stories and sometimes you're the star of the horror story, and I think that's what one of those were. It was an interesting day. And I've been a fan of water cooling solutions ever since. I've had the self-contained Corsair coolers on my machines for a very long time since then. And things with fire happen. And there was another quick story where I ended up running down either 14th or 23rd Street in the city with my pants on fire. Now, when I say on fire, I mean like embers coming off of me as I'm running down the street, trailing smoke. It was a bad scene.
I like how though this is New York and they're just kind of like, oh yeah,
no big deal. So isn't someone on fire? It's just how it is, right? But a friend of mine had a buddy who owned a pet grooming place. And they had been having a lot of technical issues and asked me just to go by, give them some suggestions, see what's going on. So, no problem. I head over there after work one day and I walk in and beautiful facility, super modern, clean, bright, got dogs running around. Everyone's having a good time. Like the place you walk into and you just get happy. You know what I mean? And I'm like, all right, guys, bring me up to operations. Let's take a look at this. I go upstairs, I go into the computer room and I just start hacking immediately. The air quality was just so different outside of the room versus inside of it. And I look down at a server. It's an old Dell and it's off. So I'm like, all right, is this where we're having trouble? And the guy's like, no, everything's having trouble. This machine simply won't power on anymore. So, I start poking around with it. I'm not trying to do anything serious, literally just looking around. Don't really want to touch much, but I do peel, I don't know, like an inch thick layer of like fur and dander and all that kind of stuff off the back of the machine. I'm like, this is your problem. And at some point, this is going to catch fire. This room really needs to get cleaned out. We need to get proper air filtration in here. There's a lot of remediative steps you need. You don't have any type of fire suppression. You don't even have a fire extinguisher in here. I'm getting nervous. And the guy goes, oh, turn around. There's smoke coming from an actual server that's running. And I kind of have like the flashback of the 800 megahertz experiment, So I pop the side panel of the machine open. I see smoke coming out of the power supply, and there's like, it's basically kindling. It's filled with kindling at this point. It's like dog hair and all this stuff, right? So I'm like, oh God, I grab the crossbar of the case. I'm like, move. And I just go down the steps and I just chuck the machine onto the sidewalk on 14th Street. And I'm like, this is crazy. This is crazy. Like I'm having like a mini breakdown moment. We're like, why am I here? Why aren't I on the train? And I look down and my right pant leg is on fire. And I'm like, oh, hell, nope. And I just start running down the street at full speed.
Gonna outrun the fire.
Yeah, I supplied more oxygen in the process, right? So I end up stopping at a pizzeria on like 8th Avenue and just be like, yo, let me get 2 slices and can I get some wet napkins? And the guy just looks at me. He's like, I got you. I'm gonna get you some paper towels. Like, it's like, that's gonna help more, right? So I'm sitting there and I'm dabbing my leg down and I'm walking back to the pet groomer shop, eating a slice of pizza, and my buddy's just waiting outside like, I am so sorry, man. I'm like, yeah, they're buying me new pants. I'm not going back in there ever again. but I'm going to give them like a full report with what they need to get done. And they were super appreciative of that because they knew something was wrong. And the owner a few weeks later calls me. And I remember the conversation so well because I was like at a gardening center, like picking out flowers or something. And he calls and it's just like weird timing. And he called to thank me because he realized that if I didn't go there that day and touch the machine that was off, that probably, emitted some of the bits of junk that got caught into the other machine that ended up catching fire, that's something that could have happened after hours. They board pets there. This could have been a really nasty situation. So he was like, end of day, we lost the machine. It's cool. We've got backups. We're going to take your suggestions. They did the network overhaul and everything was great. But I mean, every time I'm on like 14th and I'm near a pizzeria, the thought of this just comes to mind. And you see the big smile on my face, a little bit terror in the back of the head at the same time. But that was a good one. I mean, how many times can you say that you had not a significant, but an incident involving fire in such weird ways in such a short span of time?
Well, you know what? I was going to say, like, I wouldn't have thought it was very common, but talking with you guys and hearing other people share stories and stuff, like, the amount of, like, for being in tech, the amount of stuff that's like, physically either painful, like there's, like, physical harm.
I've been impaled.
There's, like, electrocution, there's fire, there's, like, to your point, like, disgusting stuff, too, that's happening. I mean, it's just kind of funny to me. Like, I wasn't expecting all those things to actually be true. And it sounds like almost everyone has one of those stories.
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to see if anyone in the audience has a fire-related story.
Oh, yeah. No, I think we had we had at the very beginning, someone was saying water, which is like...
Oh, there was a fire.
There's a fire.
Yeah, I have at least one more water story, but yeah.
Let's go for it.
Oh, okay. I mean, I can do that one. So I think almost every single one of the stories I'm going to tell were when I worked for like a big, giant market research firm. And we had a data center and we had two locations, one near where I live and another one on the East Coast. And the East Coast data center was retrofitted in the building. And so to add air conditioning to this room, we had an actual raised floor data center. They had like a closet. To add air conditioning to this closet, they installed an air conditioner above the ceiling. Air conditioners produce water. So what do? You put in a drip pan, and then that drip pan has a drain, and the drain drains outside. Well, if you don't maintain those, eventually the drains on those drip pans just get clogged up with some sort of crap. So what happens is, this is the middle of the summer. It's actually like going into 4th of July weekend. The drip pan filled up with water because the drain clogged, and it dropped. I don't know. We estimated probably 20-30 gallons of water on an HP server, running HPUX, right? So like this isn't just like an x86 box you can just run down the store and buy, right? So it of course dies, and this server is supporting hundreds and hundreds of outbound survey takers, right? Like, you've ever gotten one of those phone calls where they're asking you to take a political or product survey, right? Like, this is supporting literally hundreds of these users. So I am the Linux guy and a Unix guy, but I'm not. My HPUX foo is not super strong, but it was determined that they weren't going to replace the server in the area it was at. They were going to move to our location. So they get the guy on the plane with the tapes, DLT tapes, and they send me in the company minivan like halfway across Ohio. We're in Toledo, so we're in this north corner of Ohio, northwest. I have to drive all the way across the state, almost to Sean Lardo's house, to Akron to pick up some place that had refurbished HP servers, like L-class servers. I pick this thing up. I drive it back in the minivan. The guy lands. We spend, I don't know, I had a 20-hour day that day. I had like a 16-hour day the following day because no one had ever tested the restore procedures. And in the end, we got it back. And I learned a lot about HPUX in the process. But, man, the lessons learned there were flipping crazy. It's like, one, always test your backup procedures. Right? Like, two, don't put the water anywhere near the data center, right? And 3, if you run really weird hardware, you probably need to have a spare or know where to get a spare. Right, so no one died, no one was on fire. Probably not nearly as exciting as half these stories Matt here is going to tell, but man, it was a crazy couple of days. It was the CIO kept coming in like every 10 minutes. He's like, "Where's it at? Where's it at? Is it back up yet?" And finally, I'm like a low man on the totem pole. I'm like, I can work on it, or I can talk to you every 10 minutes. You're gonna have to pick one of those. Which of these two things you want me to do? And he left me alone the rest of the day.
I'm
And
just
that, it's such a nightmare, man. Like we were talking afterwards, and I was saying I had that VXA tape backup come back from Iron Mountain, completely wiped once.
Yeah.
And it comes down to you trust yourself, verify on your own, have that knowledge in your mind that you've done random restores on a weekly basis or whatever you need, just to know that the data is going to be there when you need it. And honestly, it's great heartburn prevention. Yeah.
Did you guys feel like when you're going through some of this stuff, especially like earlier on in your careers, were you lucky enough to have people like bosses or other people who could like walk you back from the ledge or like give a little cover for it, or were you just like, this is all on you?
Yeah.
Go ahead,
With me,
please.
that's what ended up happening. They took like essentially my boss's boss and made him run interference between me and the CIO. The guy that actually maintained those HPU Xboxes, I think he was like 103 at the time or something like that. Like he'd cut his teeth on something he probably had a program with like switches.
Cards.
No, this is way older than cards. And he was very dependable. He was just like the slowest guy in the world. And I'm like, come on, just let me type. So yeah, that's what ended up happening. I'm like, just go. Tell me if I'm doing something wrong. I'm going to fix this.
I think that having the right leaders and people above you in any job, especially when you're younger, is incredibly valuable. Like, clearly the CIO that I answered to for that period of time was not the person for me, but the folks that I worked with after that, I'm going to say his name because he's such a good dude, but Tom Flaherty, he's over at the Make-A-Wish Foundation, these guys, and he was my boss for years there, and made sure I had the resources I needed and the guidance I needed. And there was another guy, Dave Nelson, who came to us from IBM Global Services. And of course, it took me like 20 years to realize that was basically an MSP. And then I turned around, I was like, hey, Dave, now I understand where all those lessons are coming in handy these days. But having people that are really in your corner and want to see you grow and do well. And I mean, look, we've got Ray here. He's a shining example of that person, and that's critical. And I think that, I don't know about you guys, but kind of turning 40 recently made me realize that now it's time for me to start helping other people that are getting into
now
things.
we're going to get really into the horror, aren't we? The horror of old age. Ray, thank you so much for coming on, sir.
Yeah, glad I could join. I'm definitely happy you
Sneaking
guys
us
did
in
this
on the
twice
road,
today.
right?
Yeah, I'm at a ASCII conference. Can you guys hear me okay?
Oh yeah.
You're fine.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm doing this from the hotel. So
No portable LED setup for us?
I was trying to get lighting so it wasn't glaring. Like I have mics and stuff in a bag, but I was like, I'd rather just jump on and hang out with you guys.
Keep it real.
No.
There we go.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this is great. Thank you so much for hopping on. And obviously, we know you got stories too. If you have any that you want to share, feel free.
So there was that one time, and I wish I could say this was that long ago. This was less than 2 years ago. For those that don't know, I run a voice over IP company, couple, 100,000 users, something like that, across North America. So thank goodness, I was making backups of the firewall, making changes to rules that were not active, which should not have done anything because they were inactive rules. Shouldn't have been a big deal. I was doing this at like 10 in the morning. But again, inactive rules shouldn't be better. And for all of you in the chat that are listening, and probably those of you on screen screaming, you should know better. You're absolutely right. I hit save. SonicWall thought it would be a great time to reboot. I brought down a whole data center for 180 seconds. That was fun. The worst part of it was, my text noticed immediately. They hit me up on Teams saying, or I think Slack at the time, hey, we just noticed all these phones. Everything failed over, thank God. But we just noticed all these phones went offline. I mean, thousands of phones went offline and then came back up at a different data center. And I realized what I had done. And, that talk about a heart in your throat moment. And that was all me. Yeah, only 180 seconds. I mean, I've made some mistakes, and that was terrible.
Oh, that's nightmarish. There were these old 3Com SuperStack firewalls from the early 2000s. There you go. And
nightmare fuel.
A rule being enabled or not was irrelevant to the units. You could disable something, that rule was still running. You could reboot the machine, the rule was still running. And I had a couple of bad days with those until I moved over to the Sonic walls.
Or you're in like a Cisco router and you're like, I need to redefine that access list, and you remove it, not realizing that like it's just deny all. Then I've done that a bunch of times.
But at least like on Cisco routers, you can say, okay, well, if I haven't committed the change within X amount of time, it'll go back. There's no convention for that on Sonic Wall. And the day Ray lost a 9, exactly, Isaac. So, and the worst part of it is, of course, the techs the staff that was still working with me back then, they keep they bring it up all the time. They're like, if they make a mistake, they'll be like, but at least I didn't bring down a data center. So, but it's a good story for the people we hire when I bring them on. I'm like, you're going to make a mistake, and hopefully it won't be the mistake I did. Lesson learned: never, ever, 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 ever during daytime hours in production out of a maintenance window.
That's it right there. Hey, Jonathan, do you want me to get to the story that I shared to you that I titled "Let It All Burn"? Keeping with the flames. It's a good one. All right, so this is when I went from being at a nonprofit to moving into publishing, and it was a cool opportunity. And when I started, the CEO there was relatively new as well. He actually worked at Real Networks at one point. So I used to put buffering logos on his door whenever I was angry with him. Used to get him so upset. Look at Jason.
You can make beer come out of my nose. That might be worse than the sucker.
So, I get told I'm going to have a significant budget the first year. We've got to do a lot of rebuilding. Things just aren't working the way they're supposed to. Someone has to come in and make things right. So I get a full tour of the space. I look around. I see the computer room, which is huge. It was like a 20 by 20 foot room. It was really, really nice. Had its own dedicated AC units, dedicated power. I mean, whoever built the room did a really good job with it. But there was a smell in the room. And I'm walking around trying to figure out what it is. And I walk over to like, I want to say it was a Nortel PBX, probably a Nortel or something like that. And I'm like, this thing's going to catch fire or fail soon. You can smell it. It's beginning to go. 2 days later, I came in and there was a scorch mark on the wall behind it. The PRI card actually caught fire in it. And they're like, all right, you called it. What do we need? So I went and I bought an Intertel Access, I think it was, or a 5000 series switch, one of those. I was a pretty big fan of them at the time. I had a lot in other places. And that was cool. All right, old equipment out, something new's in. People are happy. They're seeing improvements happen within like the first week of me being there. So, a few days go by and I'm sitting at my desk and this person's like, hey, Matt, how's it going? And I turn around, I'm like, hey, who are you? It's like, I'm Sherry. I'm your assistant. I had no clue I was going to have someone working with me until she came back from vacation and introduced herself. And that was like the best thing in the world because it was like, all right, you can take me through a tour here. You can show me really what's going on. Turns out that there was a second computer room on the floor that was ours. I had no clue whatsoever. And it was right behind my cubicle and a locked door that I always ignored. Well, for the first week I was there or whatever. We open it up and I'm amazed. There's like 6 switches in there. There's what was it called? The radio away from Apple, Xsan or something like that. Was that what it was?
Oh, Xserve.
There were Xserves, but then there are the storage units.
Oh, Xstore.
Something like that. So there was like some kind of cool stuff in there for being 2007. And I'm like, why is this all hidden? And I start poking around. And Jason, I'm hoping that you can help me connect the dots on this one because I can't remember the model machine. But there was this huge compact setup that was kind of like it was like 2 servers and a storage array in a unit that had characters on it. It was like the ProLiant 8000.
Okay, no, this was x86.
Yeah, it was a ProLiant. I don't remember what it was. I don't think it looked like the 8000 series, but I feel like it was its own separate label because of the way it was set up. And I'm like, oh, this thing's ancient, but I have to see what happens if I plug it in. especially since there's a note on it that just says "throw me out." I mean, come on, how is that not an invitation to plug it in, right? So I go to a corner of the floor that's empty. I mean, like, there's no rug. It's all concrete. They're redoing everything for us. I know that this area has its own, it's on its own circuit. So if something goes wrong, it's not going to impact anyone. And I tell the building management, who's on the same floor as us, I'm going to do something. I don't know what's going to happen, but we'll see. So, I plug both of the power supplies in. Everything seems cool. I'm not getting any like burning smells or humming sounds, nothing that's making me nervous. I turn it on and I start seeing power arcs between the two servers. It was like flat out Frankenstein's monster. All right. And I'm like, oh, I'm freaking out. I just start pulling the cables out of the thing and backing up. My assistant standing next to me, completely frozen. We got one of the guys from the building next to me cracking up. People are coming by. And I'm just like looking around and I'm shaking. I've never seen anything like that before. That was power, And I'm just like, does anyone else smell ozone? And someone's like, what's ozone? And I just like walk out of the room. I'm done. I don't want to have this conversation. So on the way back to my desk, there's an editor who grabs me by the arm, like aggressively. And I'm like, can I help you? Like, I've never met this person yet. And I'm just like, don't touch me. And she's like, my computer melted. And what do you mean by melted? What is going on in this place? Like, I'm having like this moment. I'm looking around for like secret cameras and people that jump out and tell me like I won some kind of contest or something, And we walk into her office and she's got one of the iMacs that had the white plastic backing on it, and it looked like melted vanilla ice cream. The whole thing melted because of a power supply problem or something, and literally it was just like this going down it. And I'm like, all right, dude, you're getting a Dell, and I walk out and let me look at my notes. I want to make sure I get this in the right order. All right. So now this research guy, really, really nice guy. I had met him like the week before, super pleasant, but he comes over me. He's like yelling and screaming. He's like, I can't do my job. I can't report to the Publishers Information Bureau. We're going to be in trouble. Like, he's really getting angry. His face is red. I'm like, all right, let's go to your desk and see what's going on. And he goes, look at this mouse. This thing doesn't work. I move it up, it goes down on the screen. I move it down, it goes up on the screen. The buttons don't work. How do you expect me to do anything? And I said, hey, buddy. And I flipped it around and I was like, just make sure the mouse cable is always pointed away from you. And he gave me a hug. It turns out this had been an ongoing problem for like 3 months. It was just like, oh my God, please stop with this. So I'm like, all right, what else is going to happen between here and my desk? I turn around and we've got this like Ricoh pre-production printer, catches fire. It catches fire. I think like the fuser or something in it failed, and there was like
printers are inherently evil.
It was
Yeah, I'm just saying that.
When you're
That's
working in
corporate
publishing,
justice.
when you're working in publishing, and you've got like these 15-foot long production printers that like are the more expensive than like a really nice car, and something goes wrong, it can be really bad. So I'm just looking like around, like I don't want to be here. This is crazy. It's literally everything's falling apart. And the CEO comes up to me and he puts his hand on my shoulder. He goes, how's everything going there, guy? And I just go, burn it all down. And I walked right out, went downstairs, again, got some pizza because that's my medicine, and then came back up and worked there for like another 5 years and got everything rebuilt and awesome. But it was just one of those moments where you're like, what else is going to happen? And just to kind of end, I'm just going to end the whole publishing thing real quick, and then I'll let you go. But a few weeks later, we got this TV from an event. And it was like a really gorgeous plasma. And I'm like, guys, we're going to put this up in the boardroom. It's going to be great. We've got the cabinet, make it happen. I've never run coaxial cable before. I figure it out. I get the right tools. I run my cables. I, cut everything the right size, crimp. And I'm like, all right, just got to drill a couple of holes. We're going to run this through the drop ceiling. No big deal. Now, do you guys remember the scene from Aliens where Hicks is in the lab with everyone? And he takes the pulse rifle and he goes up into the ceiling and you see all the aliens coming at him through it. I had that happen to me with rats, right? So I get up on the table and I'm poking up and I got a little flashlight and I got the screwdriver holding the thing up for me, and they just start coming. It's like 20 or 30 of them. Like they were coming for me. And I'm like, no. And I fall backwards. I flip off the table. I whack my head on the wall and I'm just sitting here like this. I'm done. And the receptionist is like, you okay, baby? Like just came in and I was like, no. She's like, you want my Sprite? Yes.
I love how this is clearly like a haunted like horror show, or it's just a building in New York. that
And
you.
there's no real valuable lesson there. It's really just something I had to say out loud, and it was incredibly cathartic.
Well, I think pizza solves everything. I think you said it pretty
Yes.
clearly. I mean, that was
What are the
takeaway.
emojis? What are the emojis I send to the chat for every live chat? Pizza,
Oh.
French fries. There's meaning in that.
I also do love that you're the type of guy who sees equipment with a note that says "throw out," and you're like, "I gotta plug it in."
Well, I'm probably also the
I'm that
person
guy. I'm totally that guy too.
I would see a box with
Yeah.
a stick
Yeah.
on it, and it would have like a carrot underneath. I'd be like, that carrot looks delicious. You know, Elmer Fudd would have me so quickly.
Oh my god! All right, well, Matt, regaling us with
That-
multiple tales
Th-
back
those,
to back.
those are my tales, and at the end, I'm just going to give everyone an explanation of what happens when you work long enough that you actually become the nightmare. That's what I'm going to end it with. So
Oh,
get ready
good.
for that. There's video
Okay.
footage. Not a story. Video footage.
Very good. Okay. All right. Well, while we can look forward to that, Seth, thank you so much for jumping on.
Hey, it's
Being
my pleasure.
brave.
Can you guys actually hear me?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Excellent.
trying to. I'm trying
Absolutely.
to figure out what's on your screen.
Well, I've got Ninja and then my help desk system. Of course,
Yeah.
obviously Ninja, right? With nothing running right now, right? Yeah.
Well, you already were gonna win a prize, and now you've definitely won one.
Sweet. I had to lock it in. Like I literally put it in the corner of the screen, rotated my camera to fit it in.
Excellent. The plan. Yeah. You're definitely going according to
Working
plan.
all the angles there.
Exactly.
So
Love
let me jump into my story. First off, to all of you guys still in managed services, my heart goes out to you. I love you guys. I did it for 15 years. And the story that I'm going, and I've since moved into internal IT. The story that I'm going to tell, I'll link it later, James, is about when I was early into managed services. I'd been at this company for about 3 years, loving it. I was point of some of our biggest accounts in this tiny town in Northeast Texas. And after several years, I had finally decided I could trust my team enough to go on vacation. And
Dun, dun, dun.
right, yeah, right. That's always the way it is. So I fly off to North Carolina to visit my parents, introduce them to my new wife, all that kind of fun stuff. And I get a call from my largest client saying, "Hey, we can't reach anybody at the office. We're down. No email. Nobody can log onto their computers. Nothing." So I call the office. It's like 8, 9 o'clock at night, and back in Texas. And I get the on-call guy, and he's like, "Here, let me transfer you over to the manager on duty." So I'll break down the early part, right? Junior engineer goes in to delete a user, hits the delete button while selected on the OU for the US users. And this is Active Directory 2003 environment. Blows it out. On-prem Exchange server, because BPOS was still too new to start pushing people up to the cloud. And so all of their Exchange mailboxes, gone.
Wait, gone or
And then-
disconnected?
Gone.
Wow.
Gone.
Yeah, there's
Put into
no
the recycle bin, right?
Yeah.
Or marked for deletion, whatever. There is a way to recover, but unfortunately, the night manager was new, and he didn't know about those features. Sent the engineer on duty, who honestly didn't deserve that title, on site to do an Active Directory, or not an Active Directory, rather a server restore from backup. Great idea, except this environment had 4 other Active Directory servers located literally around the world. And it had already replicated these changes off to Singapore, which was our hub for Southeast Asia at that particular client. And so what happens when you bring an Active Directory server back from backup? Oh, it checks in with the other AD servers and redeletes all of those users. Now, there was an old trick, right, where, as Frank pointed out, soft delete. You could have gone into Active Directory and restored, but that server no longer existed because he restored over the virtual machine that it had been there before. So no history of the soft delete. Gone. I had to, cool. Hey, what's up, Steven? So I had to fly back, leaving my wife with my parents, to Texas, and spent 72 straight hours restoring mailboxes. I don't know if you guys remember the old Shadow Protect, Exchange Aware backups, but you literally had to grab each individual mailbox content, copy it into a brand new mailbox created on the Exchange server. We created by hand all of the users. It was miserable.
It reminds me of a time when I had failed backups and I only got lucky because I was able to replay the logs from an Exchange server, and that feels like nothing after hearing that story.
My God, and Seth, like, so how long before you took another vacation? Ever?
I left that company before I took another vacation.
Oh no!
I mean, here's the funny thing, right? You know, people learn from their mistakes. So the guy who made this click, right? He'd only been in IT for a couple of years. He was new. They cut him from that over that issue. Brought him back 4 years later. He's now like their service manager who runs the IT service department, and he does a great job. He's a great guy. Definitely learned from the lesson. But so did I. I don't take vacations without making sure my backups are current and making sure whoever's taking over for me actually knows what they're doing.
Oh my God, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. That's a really good one.
Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely, Seth. Thank you so much.
That was legit horror right there.
It was, dude, just like my
I'm
heart
starting
is
to
beating
sweat.
faster just thinking about it. It was, oh man, it was hell. It was, yeah.
But I tell you, Exchange 2003 was pretty sweet, depending on how you had it set up. Like I had a, I don't know if it's the right term. I think I had made it up because I didn't know the term, but I called it a geocluster. I was using a piece of software called Neverfail, and I was mirroring my Exchange server in New York with one in a data center in Santa Clara. And during the blackout we had in 2003 on the East Coast, the thing failed over beautifully. All of our other offices around the country, not a problem. New York, whatever. You got no power. You're just going to go outside and do something. But
So we had something very similar set up, right? It was replicating to Singapore, but the mailboxes got deleted.
Yeah. Man. Like,
No
I don't even want to
coming
hear
back
any more of this. I'm getting like antsy over here. That's why I'm in marketing
just-
now.
That's why I love Office 365, right? Delete all you want. I got a recycle bin. I can go restore. There's no getting rid of that unless you've got, all the permissions, and I'm the only one with those now.
There you go, Seth. Oh man. Well, a tale well told, and thankfully in the past, right?
Oh, and real quick, can I give a shout out to my account manager over at Ninja,
Of
Doug?
course.
Thank you. You're a great guy, and
Oh,
look forward to
man,
working
look
for
at
you.
you, Seth.
With you.
That's awesome. And yeah, we will definitely pass that on to Doug, and we'll make sure that you get one of the IT survival packs too.
Cool.
So thanks
Looking forward
for
to it.
coming on.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Seth. All right, and our next brave soul, Abby. Thank you for coming on, man.
Hello, how are you guys?
We're doing well. Thanks for joining. And where are you calling in from, or where are you signing in from, whatever?
Orlando, Florida.
Oh, there we go.
I got
So
my,
you're close to right.
You say go hang out and Ray's hotel.
Yeah,
Right,
I
I'm-
see
I'm-
the shirt.
Do you
I'm looking
recognize the
around
shirt?
I do
here.
recognize
I'm in
that
Orlando
shirt.
too.
Nice. Oh yeah. So James is asking what's on the shirt. It's a Ninja You're on Mute shirt, which Rachel, our VP of Marketing, is on the line too, and that's one of her proud concoctions there. And
Ray, you
I
need
love
that.
it. He's straight up modeling it like he's on HSN. That was such
Oh,
a good
man.
turn.
I do need that. Yeah.
We only have
He's
60
going to
of
show
this
us
coming up.
alternate colors in a minute. He's going to be like, and if you call in the next 5 minutes.
I know. Well, man, we gotta. I kind of want to take a page from your book, Ray, and have. We're talking about getting a shop too. In fact, Ray's been the kind soul that he is. He's got a link that I'm going to drop in for a discount for his awesome shop with some shirts that I could model around later too. So shirts for everybody, right?
Yeah.
But Abby, you came on screen here to tell us some horror, right? What's going on?
So this is more of a sad story than it is a horror story. But at the time, it was pretty terrifying because we were. This takes place back in the XP days. I was in middle school.
The horror already for for the guys that are 40 above.
I went to a technology middle school. It was a pretty standard. It was like a magnet program. We had a bunch of programs. I learned to program in Pascal and C++. We had a PC support class, a networking class. We did I was doing sysadmin work in 7th grade, re-imaging computers, building them, right? So the school was amazing. We learned everything. It really did set the pathway for my entire career.
That sounds incredible.
So this was when I was in 7th grade. So the 8th graders got to do some other stuff, some of the more advanced stuff. We did some of the less advanced stuff. We spent the entire year learning how to build a computer, how printers work, config management. We learned from the basics, like, this is what RAM is, and this is what a CPU is, and this and that. And we built computers, we refurbished them. So like literally the entire year, we're learning different aspects of IT, little modules. And, towards the end of the year, we've learned so much. The school thought it'd be really nice to bring the parents in and give them a little science fair of what we've learned. And we had to actually learn how, I don't remember it, but the 9-step process of how a laser printer functions, like fusing and all that junk.
I got my hand stuck in a fuser once. Just hearing the word gets to me.
So at the end of the year, we just spent 160 days learning a bunch of shit. We have this fair. All the parents come in. We show them the programs that we've made. We started with Hello World, and now we're making fake games. And this was I think we were running. Was it CS2, Adobe CS2, or this was before when Macromedia was still a thing?
Oh, then it's pre-CS. That's well before. That's like the MX stuff they had back in the day when it was freehand and
So we created Flash games. We've made a bunch of cool things. We learned to make patch cables. So we made patch cables for the parents to show them that, hey, they work, and we have the tester, the really shitty $3 tester that the school gets because it's a government education. So we have one
I
group.
was making in middle school. It was not that.
Right, I'm thinking the bracelets you make at summer camp, and he's doing patch cords for parents. I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So what I had sidetrack here. I worked for AT&T for a while, for a year, and it was kind of weird how easy the job was because I did these things when I was younger. So I already knew how to make patch cables. I already knew how to crimp. My main focus is IT, so I already know networking. No one else knows networking. They're like, oh, an IP address. How does that work? Telephone is telephone. And I was in Boy Scouts, and I did climbing for a couple of years. So I knew how to climb really well. And so even climbing a telephone pole was easy. So it was, that was interesting. Anyways. So we had one team making a computer, building it. So they start with all the parts on the table, they put all the parts in the case, they turn it on, it boots to Windows. Hey, cool, you're good, right? And they do this a couple times throughout the night because parents come in waves. So they're doing it for the 3rd or 4th time. And they put everything in, they turn the computer on, it works, goes well, the XP logo pops up, it boots to this, it doesn't boot. It boots to the XP logo, starting to load the OS, and then all of a sudden it shuts off.
Ooh.
And they're like, oh no, what happened? And so, everyone's kind of like, oh, that's nice. So you try booting it again. Absolutely nothing. All right. You're checking everything. Teachers, just we taught you troubleshooting. What did you do wrong? And so they're like, they're staring at it. Can't really think what it is. So a couple of us, we walked over, fresh set of eyes. We look over and we're like, there's no heat sink on the CPU.
That'll do it.
It didn't catch fire.
It's just throw out a 29th floor window.
And of course they're using, the really nice Pentium 4 that we had on hand, because that was the epitome of processing power in 2000, 5,
That was
6.
that was the cartridge, right? That wasn't even
Slot
like
2. Socket 2.
Yeah.
Slot 2. Yeah, slot 2 or something
Yeah,
like that.
And oh my god, no, that was Pentium 2. Pentium 2 had the slot, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Slot 1 was Pentium 2.
Like a Nintendo cartridge.
Yeah. No, Pentium 4 was the when all the pins were on the CPU itself.
Yeah, there was a slot
That's
2,
right.
I thought too. Like
Yeah, there was,
AMD,
like,
I think had slot 2.
Nah, AMD was slot A.
That's what it was. Yeah, probably.
I'm not the only one that's ever bent CPU pins, right? And like,
No. Well, I mean, it's even worse when you're like replacing the CPU in a Dell server and it's like VGA and you don't bend the pins on the CPU, you bend the pins in the socket.
Oh, those are the worst.
Wait, that was the lever you pull down if it wasn't aligned.
The lever, you kind of cross your fingers while you're pulling it because you're going to replace the motherboard if you got it in there wrong. Yeah.
That's a special kind of panic when like you're pulling down the lever, or like when you reboot a server and you're waiting for your like out of band to come back up, and like you hold your breath, like please. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
Safety pin.
I can't count the number of times I've bent the pins on a CPU. Like, oh no.
I mean, the old ones were easy enough to straighten, like back in the Pentium days, and you just straighten them back out.
I mean, at least the new ones, like you take an i7 now and you can chuck it across the room and it's perfectly fine.
Yeah,
Like,
but you just mess the socket up instead.
Yeah, well, it's a lot harder to fix.
Oh man, well, Abby, thank you so much for coming on to say that, and you can stick around too. But I want to make sure that James has a chance to jump in too, because James, you said that you've got a story that Abby kind of like jogged your memory for maybe. It's a shorter one, but yeah, welcome on and happy to hear your story.
Thanks. Yeah, hopefully you can all hear me. I've got some weird audio things happening today.
No worries, we can hear you loud.
Can you hear me okay?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, cool. So I don't know if you guys can remember Norton Ghost. Back
Oh yeah.
in the-
Ghost.
2000s. Yeah. So we used Norton Ghost at my school, and I was probably one of the more computer literate students at the time. This was the early 2000s. Probably knew more than most of the teachers at the school, and I thought, oh, it'd be a great day to clean all these library computers up because they've been really slow for a while. So I went over to the IT kind of teacher who was responsible for the admin of the computers at the school, and she handed me the floppy disk that you use to boot Norton Ghost from. Went around about 30 or 40 computers in the library, and I was given a floppy disk that loaded a vulnerable version of Windows onto all these machines. And about 30 minutes after they all got ghosted, they all came up with some kind of "you can't log into the computer" screen. So I essentially hosed the computers for the whole library for the rest of the day, which was not very fun. That was not a fun day to turn around to the library teacher and go, "Hey, all your computers are offline for the next couple of hours." That was pretty terrible, and also it looked bad for me. And yeah, that was bad. The other story I was going to quickly share, which I mentioned in the chat earlier, was about Exchange 2007. We used to have a process of updating the GAL for our small customers by restarting the information store, because it was the quickest way to get GAL refreshes to occur, because otherwise you'd be sitting there for a while and customers were like, why isn't this contact showing up on my global address list? So we used to restart the information store service, and that was fine for small customers because it'd take like 30 seconds, 2 minutes to restart, and no one really noticed that because it was not dial-up days, but slow internet days here in Australia. But I did that for one of our largest customers, not knowing that wasn't okay for a 300, 400 user organization, and it took the information store for about half an hour to 45 minutes, I think, which was no fun. Luckily, we had a really cool account manager at the time who kind of just covered my back and called the customer straight away. It's like, yeah, we made a mistake. It's going to be back online soon. But we spent the rest of the day making sure that our team of 5 help desk staff at the time knew not to do that process ever again for any of our customers, and just to tell customers they had to wait for the GAL to update so that things would recover okay. And yeah, that was made me feel very sheepish, really.
Oh, well, I hope that that feeling didn't last too long. It sounded like you had a good, at least some good backup, really, or in terms of your team and everything.
I've been with the same that company now for 13 years, so it's all ended okay.
Wow.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, yeah, man, guys, we've been on this for about an hour, and I'm game for staying a little bit longer if folks are too. The one thing I did want to share is now that we've done some of these stories here, and James, thank you so much for coming on and sharing that. I did want
No problem.
to share my screen again, and to share with you guys we came up with these. Rules for surviving an IT horror story or an IT horror movie, right? And so this is kind of like based off Scream, like the rules, like don't do drugs, don't drink, if you want to survive a horror movie. And so I just want to share with these with you guys, and we had a couple more, Jason. I don't know if you maybe at the end here you can toss them on there, and we'll circulate this afterwards, but. Kind of hearing these stories too, it's cool to see like some of these rules are applying too there, right? So the big one, never assume anything works until you test it, right? Always banking on restoration taking longer than you think. This is a great one that Kelvin had suggested, which is never trust a user. And he had the "everyone lies" quote from House, and then Tom Lawrence was saying, yeah, they actually had the poster of House with the "everyone lies" quote. Just to remind the team there of something to keep in mind when you're talking with your clients or with users. The classics: no local admin, no exposed RDP, and then we get into the changes, right? Some things that are relevant for what you guys have been talking about. Never make changes on a Friday. Related these days, right? If anything's going to go wrong, it's going to be like, in Jason's getting ready to go for the 4th of July break, or when we're going to go off on vacation or Friday night or whatever. So monitoring for security alerts there. Never assuming risk over stuff that's not yours. That's one that feeds back into something that Matt was talking about earlier. And then everyone's favorite is the CYA one, the document everything. And I know Ray is a huge fan of this one.
Oh yeah, love the documentation.
Yeah, of course we're working more efficiently, but also it can come in handy for not so happy circumstances too, right?
Well, users tend to forget when you after you've had a conversation with them and you do the changes they asked you to. That's why I tell my guys, my staff, guys and girls, put in the ticket as per our conversation. I've made these exact changes you requested. So when they come back a week later, I didn't ask for that. It's right there.
Yeah.
So.
There's a corollary to that too, though. Trust but verify documentation, especially if it's not your own.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the addendum that you're gonna add there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes into play too when you're walking into a situation, a new client, and I guess going back to that, maybe what we were trying to get to, never assume risk over stuff that's not yours. Like if you're not the one who installed it, or you're not the one who did documentation on it, kind of going to that point, Jason.
Yeah, bad documentation can be a lot worse than no documentation.
I got a question, guys. Since I didn't get a chance to watch the one earlier today, and I jumped on a little late on this one, was James the only one that brought on an actual ghost story for the IT Horror Fest? I feel that deserves. I know Matt's stuff was possessed.
Yeah,
yeah. No,
Matt had a couple.
Yeah, but I am glad you brought this up, Ray, because we actually had, for last Halloween, we had another live chat that was more based around, like, processes and documentation, actually. And we did have one story that like, towards the end, we started having people come on. And I remember this guy coming up with an actual ghost story where, he was basically... down, like working on site at this very extremely creepy place at like 3 a.m, and having things turning on when they shouldn't and all that stuff, and being like dead certain that this was actually something weird was going on. And I love stuff like that. Matt has a story like that, but involves him actually it not being a ghost, it actually being a coworker and him punching him in the crotch because he was scared.
Matt's the only person I know that like I could totally see one of his stories turning into, I was working in a server room at 3 a.m, and then I saw a ghostly apparition and I had them sit down with me. It was the ghost of the last IT guy, and he started helping me, reformat a server. Like I could totally, and then we had pizza and fries. I could totally see that story from Matt.
Yeah,
Okay, look,
yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
I did tell the story about how we got the discount on the space for the first place I worked because there was a guy murdered on the floor, and then Jonathan was talking about my boss came in at like 3 a.m. when I was doing some wiring work, and I hear like footsteps, but the cadence of the feet, it just didn't feel right, and I start getting paranoid. I'm underneath the desk with like nowhere to go, and I see 2 legs in front of me, so I just ball up my fist and I get the back of it and whack him right in the crotch. And on his way to fall, he hit his forehead onto the desk, like the desk surface, and then whipped his head back, whacked it in the back of the wall behind him, and just fell. And I was like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" It's just like, what did you want from me? It's 3 o'clock in the morning. Why are you in this office? You live in Queens. You're like 45 minutes away from your house. What's going on here? That was a bit of a horror story, but I guess he was the victim in that one.
I do feel like that the scenario, right, of having to go on site someplace in the middle of the night and working on it on your own. I mean, classic like horror.
Look, I was internal IT here though. I was in IT. I was running that place. So it was like I was always in the building. It was no big deal. It was just 3 a.m. Why is this guy walking in here? And is he the person that murdered the other guy in that room down the hall? The president of the company did such a great job telling the story to me that I had chills. I was just sweating underneath that cubicle, like, oh man, this is the end. This is it. I'm going to be in the news.
I do like Ray's interpretation where like a former IT guy, like the former IT guy can't let go. Like he's haunting the place because of things he can't let go of.
He's like, there's one more patch.
If you're going to be Ghost, what would you be haunting over? Like, what would you?
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, printers. I mean, I don't actually deal with them anymore, but yeah.
It would be that last patch update.
I would be the ghost that prevents things from working on a user's machine until a support person actually got in front of the machine. That's how we've all been there. Oh, it just started working.
It just started working.
Yeah, there's a full phase 5 floating apparition around this machine. If
I was going to haunt somebody, it would be, when you apply an update and it says, just wait a little bit longer. This is going to take a little while.
I'm the ghost that's turning progress bars backwards.
Yes, just keep rebooting to that same page over and over again.
I'm the specter
that
came up with
that happens.
Updates.
Yeah.
That ghost already exists. It's like every 4th Windows update these days.
Oh man, incredible.
The ghost of patches gone by. I love that.
Patch has gone by. He's trailing patch cables behind him. The whole thing, just the whole big theme.
Where's that costume? Like we've all seen like the Cat 5 of 9 Tails, right? Like where's that costume where like you have the ghost robe and like it's trailing Cat 5 cables?
I would love to see someone with like a wig that looks like a Cat 5 and it's properly twisted, so it's like orange and white. Orange. The color. It's done right. It's ready to be crimped.
It's done right. Yeah, there you go.
Or a Hellraiser, like a Hellraiser mask of little shorties, like
just RJ45s all over your face. Jonathan, the last thing I was going to share for this was a quick video that I would preface by saying that this was an action that was sanctioned by management over in Italy. I worked for a company that decided to relocate all their operations back to Italy, where they were originally from. And we were a skeleton crew, and we were like 5 people just keeping the place running until they were ready to really shut New York down. And I was put in charge of setting up a construction project for turning the space into one that could be subletted. So we were going to split it into 2 spaces, and all this work was going to go on. And I don't remember what happened, but for some reason it got stalled, and the office shape was kind of like a horseshoe. And the finance director and I were in one office on one end, and the 2 people in editorial were in the office next to us, but in order to go from our office to theirs, we'd have to go through the entire building, like the entire horseshoe shape. And I was like, I'm sick of this. If we just had a window, things would be so much easier to deal with. And, I'm talking to the COO in Italy, and I'm like, can I, make a hole in the wall or something like that? It's not a big deal. The wall's going to go down eventually, right? There's no power in it. There's no plumbing. It's obviously just there to split a larger space into 2 pieces. So are you okay with it? And he's like, you do what you want, you know, like one of those things. And I was like, all right, so this is what happened. Oh, it's backwards.
No, you're good. Matt, if you don't do like the Here's Johnny thing,
Right? I was just thinking the same thing.
I like that guy's effort at the end there.
But the best part is that guy, he was the finance director. We shared an office. And then, you know, a couple years after this, I started working at Valiant. And then he calls up and I'm like, why are you calling me in my workplace? He goes, oh, I'm actually a point of contact at one of your customers. And it was just like one of these moments that we just burst out into laughter. And some of the people at Valiant knew him because I was using Valiant as a vendor at this company. I mean, I was hired to remove an MSP and reestablish an internal IT department before everything got shut down. So, you know, I couldn't work with them in a normal sense. So I was using him as a vendor. So they kind of had an idea of who he was too. And they were like, wait, is that the guy that ripped the hole in the wall with you? And I was like, yes, that was him. That was him. So I guess the moral of that is, you know, sometimes you live long enough to become the villain. Is that the line from the Batman movies?
Yep. Yep.
I had that moment. My little villainous, you know, put the hole in the wall. Yeah, exactly. The Kool-Aid Man moment. You hit it. There you go. Thank you, Harold. I was like, oh, yeah. And that was it, man. But the best thing was when something had to get passed along, we would just shove our hand through the wall and that was it. No more like spending 2 or 3 minutes trying to like, you know, navigate the entire office.
I'm waiting for that call because there's more than a few places that like I have fishing sticks stuck in drywall because we couldn't get them back out. And all my stuff is labeled. So, because, you know, me, documentation, surprise. So, like, they all have, like, you know, masking tape with, like, my contact information. So, I'm going to get the call one day. We found your fishing sticks in the walls. Yeah.
Oh, but that sounds like a marketing gimmick to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
That's
Oh,
the
there you
calling
go.
card. Right, yeah.
You needed this.
Yeah, if they call me back for whatchamacallit, for cabling, it's not happening.
Oh, you should just leave those in walls and like have like a 15% discount coupon on it and see what.
Well, guys, we have. I'll walk down this a little bit. So we had this poll here, and we launched this in the first session too. It's cool to see the differences. So in leading up to Horror Fest, right? We asked people to share on social what's a 6-word or less IT horror story, and tons of good examples. I'm sorry, people in the chat have called out like, "Hey, mine didn't make the list." I apologize. It is directly my fault. But we had basically 10 here that we put in the poll. I thought Backups Were Running is the winner this time around. In the first session, kind of a landslide for, hey, while you're here, can you ... But here's those 10 those ones that are in the poll. Here's kind of the images of them. There's some good classic ones here.
The actual horror one is on the last slide, the top one.
Yeah, exactly. It's my favorite one. We're getting there. Here we go. This is just a temporary workaround. Is my favorite by far.
Yeah, that one's good, but all users are local admin.
Oh yeah.
Seen that.
Oh, and then my slides going through the Hellfire Challenge, which Ray.
Gavin Stone did a
one,
short video of it. I saw it. We were laughing at it during the conference.
Yeah, no, it's something that I will never do again. But is now.
Come on, I'll go get mine. We can do it right now.
I'm telling you, Tom Lawrence is the king of bad decisions, good times.
Yeah, Ray. I mean, you got put into this. You ate the
we did the hot sauce challenge.
Right?
We did it twice. We did the hot sauce challenge. We did 5 hot sauces doing a Hot Shots remake on Tech Bar. And then we did a Hot Shots, like a little micro thing with the world's hottest chocolate. And never again. Never again.
But doesn't that really come down to technique more than the chocolate itself? Or didn't you eat it as opposed to let it melt?
So I'm gonna get on my pulpit here. I was bamboozled, okay? Because we had Tom, we had Cass, his wife, and then Sean, Simon, and myself. And the first piece, and we had prepped. Like I'm a retired Boy Scout. Like I'm all about the always prepared. So I had milk with me. I had glasses of water. I had even ice cream with me, like next to me, just in case. And so we take the first piece. I chew it, I swallow it. It was hard, but I was fine. I was able to hoodwinked. Yeah, I'll go with hoodwinked, especially for Christmas or for Halloween. But I was fine with that first piece for the most part. I didn't have to run off. I was handling it. I was like a boss. I'm like, oh, I got this. And then I'm like, Simon or Sean, because always Sean, right? Sean's the one that always gets you in trouble. He goes, let's do a second piece. Okay. So we do the second piece. The second piece had something to prove. The second piece,
The revenge.
I cried uncle. Like I got water. I had to go off screen for a minute. So we come back, like once everything settles down, like I'm dying, Sean's dying, Simon's dying, and Tom is fine because his guts are made of like concrete, and and his wife mentions like off the cuff, she's like, yeah, we don't chew them, we just put it on your tongue and swallow it. Meanwhile, like I had been chewing it, I had it like stuck in my teeth, so like even after you drink water, it would come back, and it was more angry. And so I was bamboozled. It is technique, absolutely.
It's not. Well, I mean, the problem is that like it just you swallow that. I swallowed the gummy. Like I just chewed it like twice and then swallowed it, and the problem is just self. Then like it just sits in your stomach burning a hole. I felt like I was some sort of like melted down nuclear reactor, and like fissile material is just trying to burn its way through my stomach and come out the bottom.
But I feel like the lollipop had to be worse, right? Because the lollipop, like you have to lick it, so it's like it's rubbing against your tongue. There's no.
I just put it in my mouth. Yeah, I mean I'm pretty sure that if somebody had attacked me, I could have just spit in their eyes and they would have like laid on the ground crying.
All I'm saying is I think you guys are gonna have a case of lucid syndrome in the morning, and I feel for you.
Oh, Sean was feeling it the next day. My stomach's made like I'm I'm good.
That's why I think though that the gummy or the chocolate I think is going to be worse in that regard, because like Jason's saying, it's like a solid thing like in your stomach, whereas the lollipop
It wasn't bad
like,
once it got to the stomach, and the chocolate was the tiniest piece. So I'm guessing the gummy may have been worse. It was just, it's one of those things that like you put it in your mouth, and for the first 5 seconds you're like, oh, this isn't that bad, and then it starts building up, and it never stops building up. That's the problem.
Yeah, it tastes. This tastes like cinnamon and a little bit of black. Oh god, this is terrible.
Exactly. The first
why did
3
I do
seconds
this?
were just like, yeah, this is totally fine, and then it gets not fine very quickly. And that's the most panic-inducing part, is like knowing that no, this isn't gonna stop, and there's very little you can do about this. Like you're just in it now. You just gotta ride it out.
Yeah, I mean, once it's in your mouth, you're done. Like you just have to write it out, and that's the thing. Like, when we did the 5 sauces for the tech bar, like the first sauce was fine. The first sauce wasn't anything more than Cholula. Actually, I put it on my eggs all the time now, and like the second and third sauces had heat to them, but they weren't bad. They were actually very very good, and I've used those since too. The fifth one. It just kept building and building, and then it would like calm down a little bit and build back up. And this went on for like 3 solid minutes. The rest of them would get hot, and then within a minute they're fine.
Did you add the bomb?
Like 3 minutes. It was, oh man, I can't remember. It was, yeah.
I have most of them they've used on Hot Ones except the bomb.
Yeah. Actually, no, we did whatever the final one is in Hot Ones.
Yeah,
that's the one we used for the 5th one.
Yeah. Last Dab's not terrible. It's hot, but it goes away pretty quick.
Yeah, I would not trust anything that you say after seeing how well you handled that. The toe of Satan. Oh, jeez.
Sean's coming for you.
He's coming for me.
He's haunting you.
He's attacking you.
Lardo, get out of here.
God.
Hey, Sean, nice to see you again. Actually, we'll see, because we're doing a Tech Bar Live from IT Nation, and we may or may not have the chocolate with us, Jason. Just saying.
I'll eat it.
I know you will. Burns you twice, once in and once out. Yeah, that was a whole other conversation. Out of respect, I won't bring up here.
Well, guys, I think unless anyone in the audience wants to share one more horror story, people are hanging out, so this is cool. But we can also kind of wrap things up and point to a few other things going on. And, I mean, Ray, you mentioned IT Nation. Everyone's going to be there. I won't be there, but folks from Ninja will be there. Anything else that's going on? Like, I mean, Ray, you're at something right now, but anything between now and IT Nation or anything else?
So we're at ASCII right now. Today was the second and last day. Sean and Matt and the team are going to be at Channel Partners next week in Vegas. So if anybody's going to Vegas, go say hi. The whole team will be at IT Nation, including myself. So come hang out, and I will definitely be hanging out with the Ninja people that are there. Jonathan, you got to come down to IT Nation, man. You got to come on, dude. Live Tech Bar. We'll see if you can freeze in person.
If you give me anything spicy like this, I will
Right?
absolutely like.
That was the opposite of freezing. I'm not sure you understand what that word meant.
Yep, Ninja One is there. So, and congrats on the rebranding, by the way, since we haven't had a chance to speak. So.
Oh yeah. No, thank you for that. I mean, yeah, we got the fantasy logo.
Yeah.
Right here. All these other.
I should have
great
worn my
logos.
Spice Girls t-shirt today.
I mean, you really should have.
It's the demonic looking one. I love that shirt so much.
Actually, and Jonathan's got the I Survived Jurassic Sock shirt in the background. So we finally got Juan to make one for Sean that says I didn't survive Jurassic Sock. So
Here he
it's
is.
got like claw marks. Yeah.
There he is. Yeah, for anyone wondering what we're talking about,
survived,
you
but he
should-
had some
I'm gonna
amazing
drop-
scenes.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to drop a link in here to Jurassic Sock so you guys can
Yeah.
check it out.
Rachel brings up a good point. All the Ninja RMM shirts now are like they're vintage, right? Like in Jurassic World, where the guy had the Jurassic Park shirt. Like now, it's a classic. Are we going to see new Ninja like Lego characters or?
I love that. That's like where your mind goes to first because that's exactly.
Well, you guys have the best
what I
toys,
was-
the best giveaways, man.
That's exactly what I was thinking, and yeah, the story is they're on order, I believe. So yeah, they're coming.
Nice.
There's some Jurassic Sock for you guys. Well, guys, I mean, I think we've got we've got some prizes to give. We had Seth and Abby being brave and coming on, and Ray, that's awesome. You're gonna be sweetening the Survivor pack with the mouse pad and everything to you. Thank you, sir. And I'm going to be following up with everybody who's on this call, and everyone who registered with an email will have this deck and some other fun stuff. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, I mean, any other parting words for telling folks Happy Halloween and everything, and for surviving the Horror Fest? What do you got, Matt? Matt, you're gone. Jason, any parting words of wisdom?
No. This is my fourth webinar in 4 days, so I am like shot.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you did the MSP
You're a
Geek,
survivor.
right? You
That's
did
the
MSP
important part.
Geek, you did
That
Hackett.
was last
this
week,
one?
yeah.
Yeah, and then two of
and I
these.
was on the CyberCall on Monday.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. You and Kelvin were on the cyber call. Oh, that's right. We're doing with Kelvin. We're doing on Tuesday a technical deficit live, showing off his new Cyber Drain improved partner pool.
Oh, I put a pull request in for his bug bounty program to include a toe of Satan if you submit a bug. So there's actually a PR out there for the repository right now.
Amazing.
I was going to do, when he came out with it last week, I was going to do my own video of technical deficit for CIPP. And him and Gavin were just putting out so many feature updates that I told Kevin, I'm like, Kelvin, I'm like, I'm not going to do this. Like, it's going to be outdated the minute I put it up. So you're going to come on with me and you're going to show this off. So I'll put the link, no registration, no nothing. Just go join us on Tuesday at 1 o'clock Eastern. It'll be live. So you can ask questions of the man, the myth himself, the legend, Mr. Kelvin.
Having.
That's awesome. I'm glad you brought that up because I promised a link, and so I just dropped that into the chat, the GitHub link, so you can check out what Kelvin's been building. It's really cool, and a lot of people are very excited about it and jumping on it. Yeah, Abby, my condolences to you, sir. He says, how's this for horror? He's spending Halloween meeting his fiance's extended family for the first time. Good luck to you, sir.
Good luck,
You
my
win.
friend.
You win the night.
Yeah. But we know he knows how to climb a telephone pole fast. So worst case scenario, if he had to get out of Dodge.
Very true. Mr. Fox.
Yes,
I'm gonna give you a last word because I think you teased something earlier on, just having kind of like a lessons learned, a takeaways, and just on a positive note here for Horror Fest.
Yeah. Hold on one second. Let me see. I know I said it to you, and I had like that real moment of like smart stuff for a second. I'm not going to be able to replicate it at this point. So let me just find the Slack messages I put to you. Whatever. I guess what I was saying was, look, it's technology. Technology is great, right? It's something that helps push our lives forward in a lot of ways, but sometimes it's breaking. It breaks. And sometimes that's because of something you did. Sometimes it's something someone else did. And sometimes it's fully out of your control. It happens, and I think that the two things you take away from anything that happens like this is, A, you learn what went wrong and you make sure it doesn't happen again. You use it to improve yourself. And also the aggregate of all the experiences that we go through, good, bad, or otherwise, are what make us who we are today. So the Callahan saga and the foot impalement that we didn't go into and all those kinds of things that happened, they sucked. But you know what? It's all right. I would deal with them again if I had to.
The toe of Satan definitely left its mark on me, for example. I will never be the same.
You're gonna get up tomorrow morning and you're just gonna have this area where taste buds used to exist.
It's gonna taste anything on the left side of my tongue.
His tongue's gonna look like one of those racing slick tires.
And on that note, everyone, thank you for joining. Have a wonderful, happy Halloween. We definitely appreciate you guys. And Jason, Ray, Matt, thank you so much for coming on late at night here. Ray, enjoy, have fun at ASCII. And
thanks.
Guys, thank you all. We'll see you soon. Take care.
Thank you.
Happy
Everyone have a good
Halloween.
night.
Bye, all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.